I hold my hands up. I don't use Apollon for cleansing my home.
The Greek Orthodox liturgy is the most pagan in all of Christianity.
Yeah.
And lately it's been really powerful. There was a day last week, I think I had now, I've like read cards in shops in Salem, Massachusetts, where I
That is one of the hardest things to actually fight off when you've got someone that's coming through with such a negative attachment.
I continue to learn more and more and more through that deck. Like, well, it's not on purpose. It's just that they can't see. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? They can't see the forest from the trees. And
I'm like that.
she's only got a limited time to be make the most of it. Who's going to protect the city? The women,
Yeah,
right? So if
true.
they also were of all those places that you mentioned, there's a Hellenist footprint in all of those places.
Empress Sparkle with a crown of gold. I see the future, secrets untold.
Hey sparklers, how are we doing? So today I've got Kat with me. She will introduce herself in a moment. If you don't know me, I am a clairvoyant witch and Hellenic pagan, and I like to share with you help and guidance on your spiritual path, whatever that may be, and hopefully encourage you sort of to take that spiritual path even further. Kat, would you mind introducing yourself, please, lovely?
My name is Kat. I am a Hellenic pagan as well. I've been working with the energies of Apollo and Persephone for a very long time. Apollo actually tapped my shoulder when I was 12 years old, and that started me reading cards. And yeah, the journey's continued. Right now, I own a shop called As Above, So Below Emporium, and it's in Liverpool. And that's where I do my readings. I do Reiki. I do workshops and teaching. I have a great supply of books, and I have a spell apothecary where I do ritual tools with soaps, candles, incenses, blended oils, and they're all named after Olympian deities so that you know what kind of energy you can direct to the product. So it's been a thing. It's been a thing.
Awesome. So similar path to myself, really. I was 14 when I actually converted and come to the dark side, as my nana would say. So yeah, no, that's brilliant, lovely. Um, so one thing I have to ask is you said you work with Apollon, and
Mhm.
we all love Apollon. He loves his little gossips. It's what I keep telling everyone. If you want to work with Apollon, he loves a good gossip. So yeah, so what sort of things would you suggest to people to work in for Apollon, as well as obviously the gossiping?
Well, I don't know about the gossiping thing. It doesn't resonate with me. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, but anyway, yeah. Well, with Apollo, I work with him obviously when I'm doing the readings. So he is the channel. Well, I'm the channel. So
Yeah.
it's like being a Pythia. As I tell my clients, I don't ask me what I said to you because I can't tell you. I don't remember. It's just whatever is I'm hearing and whatever is coming out. And the interesting thing about Apollo too is that I'm also a Reiki master, and I was attuned in the Asui system. And so as I have carried on doing Reiki in the way that I was taught, all of a sudden, all this stuff started happening. I started using tones to open up
Yeah.
the chakra. So this and the tones are on the Asclepian scale, and we know Asclepius is Apollo's son. So there's been a very interesting sort of Apollonian uh, influence in like the Japanese Reiki healing. It's weird, but it does work. And I use my wand of Apollo too when I want to focus on a particular chakra. So yeah, he's worked his way into the Reiki. And also too, if you are someone who is a writer or a poet or a musician and you're feeling that you're having a block then you can ask him to break that block for you. He will also help you with inspiration. This is upper chakra stuff. So I'm not saying like if you're a punk rocker, you should work with Dionysus and not Apollo, or if you're a symphonic composer, you should work with Dionysus instead of Apollo. Like, no, it's how you feel and it's what qualities you want to bring forward to it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I use him for also, or he has me work with him with, is house cleansing and purification. As you know, Apollo is the only one who can purify very severe transgressions. So there's purification or hex busting or hex lifting that you might work with Persephone on, but because that might have been thrown at you by someone else. But if it's a transgression that you have either got lingering on you from past life stuff, or you actually did something naughty, he's the one to ask to
Yeah.
lift, to cleanse and purify. And I also advise people when they're doing house cleansings, I make up a particular incense and oil, uh, for that purpose specifically. And I will give people that compound and tell them to use it to bust. It's good for like when you see, when you walk into a space and it's not like you see, phantoms and demons and like icky, but like little patches of icky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little black patches all over the place. This stuff that I make that's dedicated to him, that has his properties infused in it, just blow those things up.
Oh wow. See, this is interesting for me because I hold my hands up. I don't use Apollon for cleansing my home. So I actually don't. I use Hester and I use Hera. So that's quite interesting to me because obviously Hester is the goddess of home, so I use her for that reason.
Yeah.
And then I use Hecate to protect the house. So that's quite interesting to me that I never ever thought of using Apollon for home. I hold my hands up. So that's like,
Yeah, I mean, if your home has things that have come into it from the external, and you want to purify your home and get rid of that, then he'd be the one to do it, right?
wow.
I think Hestia is someone that you can use for, I think, especially like I would use her for the mood in the house, a malady or lack of conviviality or lack of family unity in the house, because she's the central hearth. So
Yeah.
she's the heartbeat of the house. She's the center of the house. So that's what I would work with her with. Hecate is I don't know, like Hecate, I would never think of using around house and home.
Well, she was
Um,
the protector of Athens, wasn't she? They used to put trinkets to her on their doors to protect the house from spirits.
from Hecate, well, maybe so, but yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna protect your house from spirits, yeah, anything with regard to
Yeah.
necromancy or dealing with the dead, you're gonna work with Hecate, whether it's in your house or out of your house. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I found it quite interesting because I never ever thought of working with Apollon. Obviously, we bring him in a lot for creativity. Health a lot was one thing that we use him a lot. So that sort of quite shocked me. But I think also because I work with so many of them, I actually work with about 15 of them so far. I hence so far because I'm sort of like, oh, I need this. So I'm bringing in another one. Um, so that's why I found it quite interesting because I never actually thought about using his healing side to purify my home because obviously that is what he's doing. He is healing your home from
Well,
these negative spirits.
he's purifying it, from like anything that's very toxic, any kind of really toxic energy. So whether that toxic energy is, otherworldly, or whether it's brought on by a collective shit mood in the house, that's gonna help. He's gonna help that. Remember the golden arrows,
Oh
right?
yes, with from Troy. Yeah, it's wow. It has surprised me because obviously, as I says, I work with, well, you can sort of see some of them behind me. I work with 15, I think it is. I've worked with Aries, Aphrodite, Nike. Nyx,
Well, you,
Zeus.
I'm gonna be a bitch, okay? You gotta start using the Greek pronunciation, not the Anglo-Saxon. Nike. There's
Oh,
no
Nike. Yeah, Nike. Yeah. Um, I
Nike.
think the reason why I don't use the Greek pronunciation, and I will admit this, is so the old school pronunciation is purely because a lot of people don't actually recognize them. And sadly, when they go to research them, they often spell them wrong. Whereas if you spell them the way that people know of them, is the way I'm going to
Hmm.
word it, say them the way that people know of them, they sort of search for that way, if that makes sense.
Does, but I'm an ethnic Greek, so I'm picky about it. I think that it's better to try to get people to pronounce them properly as opposed to perpetuate the perpetuate the mispronunciation, keep that mispronunciation going. That's my opinion.
Oh no,
That's all.
I get it. I'm a K-pop fan. It's the same as Sugar. Everyone calls him Sugar, and he's not. He's Sugar. So I do get it. It's the same in some ways with that. So I do get it. It's the same as my daughter's name because it's Jasmine without an E, and everyone always puts the E on, and we're like, no, it's not Jasmine, it's Jasmine. So I do understand it. I do. And you know that is why Apollon, fortunately, is one of the names where we are blessed that that has carried on the same no matter what through the centuries. But I think for me personally, I just find it for people searching on here and stuff, they seem to more connect with the Anglo-Saxon sort of word. A lot of the like Westerns people seem to connect better with it. I don't know whether it's because of that's what they learn at school and stuff like that. So it's sort of like I think connection is the most important part first to actually getting people into a spiritual guide because a lot of people in some ways I think that's why a lot of people go towards like Christianity and stuff because the wording is so simple whereas for us it's sort of like everyone's like oh you know Hecate everyone's like oh how do I pronounce that and that's why I just go Hecate rather than actually pronouncing every syllable. And it's, I think that's one of the things that I sort of have recognized with people and in people, if that makes sense, that words matter for them to be able to connect with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was just pointing it out that the
Yeah.
pronunciation is that, and you don't have to justify yourself or anything like that. I mean, that's cool. I just, like I said, I'm horrible. I'm an English teacher also, or I was an English teacher, so I'm horrible. I'm like, there's no apostrophe there. Apostrophe is not supposed to. So also too, when I see things are mispronounced or misspelled, I'll call it out. Um, I'm sorry. I
No,
apologize.
that's all right. No, no, you're fine. I think for me, it's the people I sort of deal with on a daily basis really, really struggle because I was speaking actually, funny enough, in another podcast. Someone said to me, "Oh, can you do this, sort this spell out for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay. What do you want it for?" And they were like, "Oh, it's for a lover's tiff." And they were like, "Who would I pray to? Would it be Aries and Aphrodite?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Pray to Hera and Hester." And they looked at me and went, "What?" I went, "You want harmony in your home and you want marriage sorted out." I says, "You bring in Aphrodite and Aries, you're going to get a fight going on."
Well,
Like,
yeah, or somebody's going to end up cheating on somebody else too. That is tough. But no, you spot on. You spot on because Hera is the patroness of the wife in marriage, and particularly, and I think she's working overtime these days, particularly women who are victims of domestic abuse on any level. And
yeah.
yes, Hestia about harmony in the home, gathering around the center hearth for, comfort and security and warmth and all of conviviality and all of that. So yeah, spot on. That I would have advised the same.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that's why I was quite shocked about the Apollon thing. And that's why I was like, oh, I need to know more about this because for me personally, it shocks me actually how many people, like even myself, with all the knowledge that I've got on it, like I've literally got the Iliad sat in the corner over there, as well as every other Greek book that there is going. And I just sit there going, I didn't even think about Apollon for cleansing my home. So I think this is one of the things that I actually love about this is conversation is key and also actually knowing your gods because obviously this is something like I'm the same. Apollon comes through my cards. I speak to him as well through pendulum, clairvoyance, through my mediumship. I do a lot of divination with Apollon and Artemis actually. And I'm like, why did I never think of that? I always pray to him for health and make sure my family's healthy and make sure they're in good health. But I just
Well,
never thought.
I'll tell you why maybe this could be it. Because it's because I feel like I was tapped specifically by him, that opened me up. I mean, like I told you, I'm an ethnic Greek, so I was taught all the stories and everything from the time I was a little kid. Of course, I was brought up Greek Orthodox, but there was always that sort of, you'd be surprised. The Greek Orthodox liturgy is the most pagan in all of Christianity. They
Yes.
still do a lot of the stuff that they did during pagan times. Only, most people obviously do not know that. And I'm sure my grandmother was one of them. But my grandmother ran around the house with frankincense, cleaning the house. They'd take away the bed things. And she told me all the stories. So there's all of that. And the way that I got dedicated to Apollo is kind of a long story and pretty like personal. But the thing is that I think that like he guided me to this, like, put this together, put this compound together and use this for that. So, there was a time I used to live in, I come from Massachusetts, and I lived in a place called Winthrop for a little while, which is just on the seaside. And a woman called me to come and she said she had ghosts. And so she called me to come over and see what was going on in her house and to cleanse the house. And so I went like armed with all of this stuff that I was basically told to put together and how to put together. And it worked like, haha, a charm, but it worked really well. And so I use it now all the time.
Yeah.
So, I think, quite frankly, I've just seen this play out many different ways with many different people. I think the gods will tap you on the shoulder and share something with you that they may not share globally, because they want you to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, I know exactly what you're saying because this is one thing that when I work with Apollon and Artemis, I always say they want me to be my witch in a cottage, is what I say to people. They want me to be the little oracle sat in a cottage, being a little witch, and that's my pull that I can feel towards. And the stuff, like the way I tell tarot, is so different to everyone else. And people will say to me, like, I get other tarot readers come through and go to me, that isn't what that card means. And I'm like, no, but I'm getting a vision with it. And they're like,
Yep,
what?
yep. That's Apollo. That's Apollo right there. Because like this is how I explain it when people come in to read, to get readings. They ask, oh, how does it happen? How does it work? And blah blah blah. And I'll tell them, I'll say, there are a few different kinds of readers out there. There are people who are academic. They've sat down, they've studied the Kabbalah, they've studied the Tree of Life, they're Thelemites, they've studied Crowley, or the Golden Dawn or whatever, and they have gone into these things like a scholar, and they can read them well based on that frame of reference, right?
Yes.
Then you've got the other people who, like I always say, oh, if I pull this card up and I hold it up to someone, in a cafe, having a cup of coffee and say like, all right, what's the Three of Wands mean? And they look at me and say, it means you're a virgin or it means you're going to have a house fire or something. I'll be like, what? But that's their intuition. Okay. And
Yes.
it can be. After all, when we're kids and we start reading, don't we all just read intuitively? We're not like running around reading the Kabbalah when we're 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
So it's all intuitive. Then subsequently, what happens is, this is my opinion, again, my bossy, McBossy bitch pants opinion, but it's that when you can combine the two, when you can be, academic and intuitive combined, then that's the best kind of reader that you can get.
Yeah.
And what you're just saying was, I've had a streak of this lately in my readings where I've been looking at a configuration in my spread going in my head going like, what? I know what that means academically or what I routinely would say that means, but all of a sudden the message is coming through to me going like, somebody is going to the hospital because da 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 da. And
Yeah.
it's like, doesn't mean that at all.
And this is, I love this because people call me insane when I'm like, when I divinate with Apollo, I'm like, Apollon says he's got oracles across the world. That's what he tells me all the time. He's like, I've got oracles across the world. There's only certain ones which have visions. So actually meeting another, I'm like, oh, destiny, fate. Apollon obviously brought us together. But I completely agree with that. Completely agree. Wow.
Yeah, and lately it's been really powerful. There was a day last week, I think I had now, I've like read cards in shops in Salem, Massachusetts, where I've read like 20, I've done 20, 25 readings in a day, right?
Draining.
Yeah, oh, that's like going to bed, you finish, you go to the pub, you get half cut, you jump in an Uber and you go home and you sleep for 2 days because you're just so broken because people go there like it's a pilgrimage at
Yeah.
Halloween time. They go there because they want to make sure that they're getting a good reading. If they're getting a reading from a Salem quote, Salem witch, end quote, they're getting a good reading, right? So a lot of these people have really, really, really big things going on. Like attachments or like tragedies in their life that they want to make sense of, and it's one after another. Like people would walk over to my table and I'd go, give me 1 second, and I'd get up, I'd go to the bathroom, I'd throw up, and I'd come back and I'd sit down and go, okay,
I've been there on TikTok.
but what was I say? Yeah, I had 7 readings in the shop one day last week or the week before, and they were all intense. And I started at like my shop opens at 11. 2 people wanted Wheel of the Years, which are hour-long readings. So I said, okay, well, I'll come in and start early so we can get that done out of the way before customers start coming in. And then just opened the floodgates like the whole day. It was like, can I get reading? Can I get reading? And they were all like so intense, and I found that I was reading more like I read when I was a kid, as opposed to all the academic knowledge I've gotten on the way. Like for some reason he was saying to me, no, no, not this time, it means that.
Yes.
You know
And
what I'm
he
saying?
does do that. So sometimes when I'm reading for people, I say to people, hold on a minute, I need to fill this card. And people look at me like I'm like, surely you just know by looking at it. And I'm like, no, I need to feel it. Apollon's coming in, and you can feel him come in and go, hold on a minute, we've got a message on this card. Just hold on. And it is draining when he's doing that. Like I love him doing that. I worship the ground Pollen walks on, to be honest. When he's doing that, it's such an amazing, it's such a, I don't know how to explain, it's such a spiritual feeling, but at the same time, as you said, it drains you so much. And it's like,
Spirit is entering you. Spirit is entering, and he's a jealous lover, you know? So when he comes in, he's in all the way.
yeah,
And doesn't that sound filthy? But it's true, he comes in all the way. So like I created for myself, but I also do supply it and make it for people. But so I'm like such a ritual beast. Just I ritualize like everything. So when I start my readings, I anoint myself with the oil that I make that's dedicated to Apollo. So that not only opens my third eye more, but it also protects me, right?
Yeah,
It protects me against like whatever external energies may be coming in to like attach themselves. So like I'll anoint my throat chakra, my heart chakra, and my third eye and my crown with that oil, and then I anoint my statue of Apollo, and then I also make a candle, an Apollo candle, which has the same
yeah.
oil as the oil. So I light that whenever I do readings. And to tell you the truth, it just is much easier now that I can do that, you know?
And I can understand that. See, this is one thing that you guys, I know some of you guys will know, but obviously a lot of you guys won't know. If you used to watch me on TikTok, you would know that I was strictly, when I used to set up in front of you guys, I'd be like, strictly, I have a routine of exactly what I do. Um, and this is one of the things that people don't realize. It's quite important because, as you said, it's quite interesting about what you said, because this is why I've had to leave TikTok, because the amount of people with attachments on TikTok is skyrocketing, absolutely skyrocketing. And as you know, when we're open, while we're doing tarot, that is one of the hardest things to actually fight off when you've got someone that's coming through with such a negative attachment and energy, even just their energy. Like I see souls, so I see souls in white, black, and grey. And when they come through and they're like a proper black soul, you're like, great, how am I going to protect myself from this? Apollon, please come in. Hecate, please come in. And I sit there and I'm begging them to come in because can get scary.
Frankincense,
Like,
lemon, and bay leaf. Yeah.
sorry?
Frankincense, lemon, and bay leaf.
Yes, a lot, a lot. It's one of the things that I've had to do a lot is a lot of protection
You
while I
have
was on
to.
there.
You have to, because if you don't, and even there's nothing really foolproof, especially if someone has something. I mean, there are attachments that are just like rude, nothing like an ant crawling on the ground, right? You can swipe it away, you can stamp on it, get rid of it like that. But then there are more sophisticated ones with an intelligence, and sometimes, right, it can just sneak in.
And
So,
this is the thing that I say to people when someone actually come through to me for a reading. So it's funny you say this, and it was actually Apollon that warned me. Funny enough, it was him. And literally, I was doing a mediumship, and this lady was telling me that her granddad's around a lot and stuff like that. After I'd done the reading, and Apollon went, "It's not." In my ear, literally, all I heard was his voice go, "It's not," and I was like, "What do you mean it's not?" Like that. I look insane on TikTok because I'm like literally talking to myself, but I'm not.
mm,
And he was like, it's not. Amy, feel it properly. Empress, feel it properly. I need to release my real name then. Empress, feel it properly. And I was like, oh, sugar. So all this time, this lady with a spiritual side thought she was talking to her granddad.
oh, it's fixed up.
Yeah. And I was like, look, sweet. I said, stop talking to it. Get that house cleansed as much as you
Mm.
can. I says, that is not your granddad.
How did she bring him through from the Ouija board?
How
Yeah.
did you guess?
Oh, I must be psychic. No, God.
This is the problem. Ouija boards should not be played with.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like anything else. It's a, it. The problem with the Ouija board is that it was marketed by Parker Brothers as a toy, as a game, right? And so people think that that's what it is. I don't think that a Ouija board would be dangerous in the hands of someone like you or I, because
Yeah,
we know how to protect, we know how to draw the circle, we know how to ask Hecate to come in and, you know, communicate with the
yeah,
dead for us, be that barrier between us. We know how to, cleanse the space afterward and ask Apollo to cleanse the space afterward or what have you. if you're just somebody who wants to talk to your dearly departed and you go out and you get a Ouija board, you don't know what to do and you don't think there's any harm in it anyway, because what the hell, you can buy it anywhere, right?
Exact. But it's the same as tarot. How many people I see going out just buying tarot, and then a couple of months later they're like, "What do I do, Empress? It's causing me bad luck." And I'm like, "It's not causing you bad luck. You're not cleansing them. You're not charging them. You're not sleeping with them
Oh,
for 3 days, 3 nights."
and people going out and getting the Thoth deck and not ripping up Crowley's seal inside of it. Every one of those decks, well, they used to do, I don't know if they do anymore, but they used to come with a card in the center of the deck, which was his seal. If you get a
I
deck like
don't know
that, the
what
first
that
thing you do is
is.
rip that up and burn it,
Yeah.
right? Um, no offense to any of the Dolomites or Crowleyists out there, but you don't want that. If you're not, you don't want that shit ruling your life. And not only that, but the deck is, in my estimation, it's a superior deck. I've been reading it since I was 22, and I continue to learn more and more and more through that deck. Like every yeah, so um, I think that people also don't appreciate how long it takes to learn how to read the cards. And also the
Yes.
whole idea of thinking that, like, oh, if I get a deck of tarot cards, I can throw them down and I can find out what's going on in my life and I can find out if I'm going to get a job tomorrow and da da da. It's like, no, you can't. You cannot do that because you're going to be biased. You're going to read what you want to see because you're looking also in the little book. You have to study, you have to learn, you have to work with them every single day. The best
Yes.
thing to do is be like an apprentice. Take a class with someone who reads and let them show you the process.
I think as well, that's actually a brilliant thing because one of the things I actually teach my students is don't ever read for yourself. And people
Oh,
are
thank
like,
God. You know what? You know how many people they come in, oh, well, I read for myself every day. I'm like, do you really? Well, you really should not do that because, first of all, it's not pucka because you in order to do readings, like we were saying previously, right? You have to be outside of yourself. Yeah. So if
exactly.
so if you're reading for yourself, how are you? And you remember what you're reading there. How are you outside of yourself? You're not. And if you're not outside of yourself, then you're going to be looking at it maybe just academically, but you're going to be biased.
Yes.
So if you're in a shit mood, you're going to see the shittiest aspect of those cards. If you're in a great mood and you just I want this so bad, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
What I recommend people do is, and this is like what I do, one of the things I do on Insta and on Facebook for the shop is I do a card of the day. And the way that I put it is, okay, card of the day is like opening up the newspaper and reading your astrology, right? It's going to be just kind of a very generalized blanket thing because if you're an Aquarius, some of it might resonate, but what if you're an Aquarius with Libra rising? Is it really going to resonate? There's all that stuff. It's the same thing with a card of the day, a tarot reading. It's a universal kind of read. Today, this card is this is what it means, this is what it's indicating, and it's being crossed by, and I use Greek gods as like indicating. So it's being crossed by Hestia. That means you need to gather your family around you in the home and have a discussion about X, Y, and Z. Well, you know what? Maybe somebody that doesn't resonate to them. Maybe it
Yeah.
resonates to somebody else. Or maybe it resonates to somebody, but in a way that they're not looking at.
Yes, this is another problem because when you read for yourself, so I have about 10 oracle decks. My main two that I go to for my, please excuse, I may have to cover these because it is a swear, they are dual swear. The main ones I go to for my daily readings are these.
Mhm.
Like, what do I need to do today? And it's like, tells me chill the out and stuff like that. And then I have obviously my normal tarot decks. I have like three different tarot decks that I work with, one that I've worked with for about 10 years. But I only use that in special cases. It's like Apollon goes, nope, we need that deck. We need that deck. Um, and this is one thing that I say to people is sometimes I don't mean this rudely when I say this, guys. So please don't take this rudely. Um, Sometimes people aren't honest about the way their lives are.
No, well, it's not on purpose. It's just that they can't see. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? They can't see the forest from the trees. So they're going to be, if they're not honest, they're being dishonest to themselves. That's the thing. That's why we do readings.
Yeah.
Because the core center of the reading should be this is what the gods are telling you to look at. You can't see the forest from the trees. Here it is right here. And this is what has influenced this or that created this, what you did in the past. This is how you should get through this. This is your future outcome. And this is the lesson you're learning because everything we go through for a reason. You're being taught something. So, most people, right? And this is, yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to be rude or anything, but most people are not really switched on to their feelings, right? And that's nobody's fault but society's,
Yes, completely agree.
right? Because it teaches us, especially like when we're thinking about gender oriented roles, like, men can't, give into their feelings. Men can't feel certain things or care about certain things. And women are supposed to be humble and they're supposed to be nurturing and they're supposed to be this and anything other than that. Like I always talk about the Ten of Swords. I think it's a 10 and I think it's Mars in, I don't know. It's a Gemini ruled card anyway. And I always tell people this is a card that tells you you're having a conversation with yourself, right? You're having a dialogue in your head with yourself and you're beating yourself up.
Yeah.
And so it's good, it's Gemini. So it's good twin, bad twin. So the good twin is going, remember, and especially for women, right? Remember like how you won first prize in grammar school because you were, so fabulous. And then bad twin comes in and goes, yeah, but remember like you peed your pants, like, you know,
Yeah.
right? So that's not you. Okay. Bad twin is not you speaking to yourself with your truth. Bad twin is somebody externally who said nasty things to you and
Yeah.
kept telling you nasty things about you. And you took those thoughts in and it lives in your head like a tape
Yeah.
loop and fossilized. And so you think that's you telling yourself your truth, especially women, because women aren't allowed to go, I'm capable, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that, because that's not being humble. And we're supposed to be humble.
Exactly. And we're not meant to be these, like anyone meets me and I was talking about it again the other day to someone and they were like, oh, how have you managed to be the way you are? How have you managed to be so like strong and stuff like that? And I'm like, one, I hold my hands up, the Greek gods and goddesses helped me through it and stuff like that. And then I realized that I was actually making excuses. I was like, oh, well, I managed to get through it because of this. And I just sat there all of a sudden, I went, do you know what? Fuck, sorry.
I've been
Stuff,
swearing all through this. Sorry.
stuff that it was me. I dragged myself through that crap. I did it. I got my energy back to the way white. I got my soul back to being white. I did it. The gods and goddesses did it. They're the only three, well, sort of three gods and goddesses, there's multiple. They're the only ones that need praising for it. And all of a sudden I went, shit, I shouldn't have done that. And I caved back in because it was like that was so against society norms.
You're not supposed to take, as a woman, you're not supposed to take credit for or acknowledge your strengths and attributes. That's supposed to come from outside. where a
Yes.
man can walk around and go, look at me, I'm tough, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that, right? I'm handsome, I'm Mr. Handsome, Mr. Rich guy. They can do that all they want, and nobody's going to find fault in it. You get a woman sitting there going, look at me, I'm so beautiful, and I'm so powerful, and I own this, that, and the thing, and she is all of a sudden a bitch, right?
Yes, because a lot of people, so my daughter, she comes across really confident and she does. She's an amazing singer. She's just put up her first ever video finally of her singing on TikTok. And people are sit there and they're like, oh my goodness, can't believe she's showing off. Can't believe she's filming TikToks of her in a crop top and stuff like that. And I'm just like, she's 18. She's in love with her body. And I love that for her.
And she and
I'm like that.
she's only got a limited time to get to be make the most of it. I always
Exactly.
say if we could have the physical beauty that we had when we were that age with the wisdom and strength we have now, we'd rule the world, no question about it.
Yes,
No
and that's
question.
what I hold my hands up. I'm putting into my girls like, and people laugh at me because I'm like behind them. My daughter will get lippy with the school teacher, and I'll go in and I'll go, right, okay, what's the problem? And they'll be like, well, at the end of the day, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing this, and I'm going, is it actually a problem? And they go, well, yeah, it is. And I go, hold on, can you explain to me the actual problem? Well, it's not socially correct. And I go, I don't care about socially correct. She is being a strong woman, and that is the way she should be. And it
Yeah.
makes me so frustrated. And I think once this is where I'm going to encourage you guys that actually push the Hellenic pagan ways on you. Because once you turn, especially towards the pagan ways, because obviously this is a very Christian thing to down women. Very, it's not just Christian, it's also Islamic
You
and
know, this
Jewish.
well, it's historic. Even in ancient Greece. Look, you know that the primary god of Greece was Hera.
Yeah.
The northern tribes came in and they brought Zeus with them.
Yeah.
So basically, the reason that Hera and Zeus, their relationship shows up as contentious is because it's allegory for two opposing tribes or two very different tribes trying to are married together are absorbed together in the same country, same land, same culture, but they have to try to get along. So it's showing through the metaphor of this like male female relationship the conflicts and the difficulties of getting along. That's that. Now, Dr. Campbell also said something that I think it just nails it. He said that during pagan times, you had woman and man. And when you got into monotheism, you had you had woman, man, boom.
Yes.
And that's what Dr. Campbell said. So it is the change in the value system. So when you have a major sky god like Zeus or like Odin or anything like this, they're warlike, they're invaders, they're alpha males, they're taking ownership of everything. When
Yeah.
you have a society like the Minoans, which is a female dominated society, then it's artistic and athletic and peaceful and agricultural, like agrarian. So these are the differences. And
I
so it
love that.
does to say, for us to say, well, it was just much more of a feminist society or much, much more equal society under paganism. Not so, not always, I should
Not
say.
always, yeah. I
Not,
think that's what I mean is there was obviously there was a bit more freedom. I don't want to even use the term freedom. I think women were respected a bit more. I think
well,
that's the
that's
term what I
also
want.
that's regional. Oh, if you're talking about the Greeks, that's
Yeah,
regional. because Athenian women were supposed to be in the house and fat and weaving and have ivory skin and speak when they were spoken to, and they weren't allowed to go to the agora, and they weren't allowed to vote and all of this stuff. And then you have Sparta, where, of course the women are powerful because the men are in military camps all the time. Who's going to protect the city? The women,
Yeah,
right? So if you read the Lysistrata, then you see the power of women in southern Greece, and then you also see, like I said, Hippolyta. I don't remember the name of the. It was a comedy, and it was these women were coming. These Spartan women were coming. I think it's Hippolyta. I'm not sure, but these women were coming up into Athens from Sparta, and the Athenian women were just like horrified because the Athenian women were wearing long drapes, and the Spartan women were wearing short chitons, and their chitons had a slit up the side. And they
yeah.
were lean and they were muscular and they were dark because they were in the sun. And the Athenian women were just like, tittering about the cut up the side of the chiton. It was because they used to do a dance. Like Spartan women did a dance called the thigh flash. And so the idea was you leapt up into the air and your heels had to touch your bum. So when that happened, the chiton would separate and you'd see the thigh. That's why their chitons were cut on the side like that.
I never heard of it called that because I remember doing that in school, actually, funny enough. And I remember for weeks we run around school. I was only about 8. And I remember for weeks we run around school jumping, trying to touch our heels to our bums
Yeah,
again.
that was a proper part of a Spartan woman's ritual dance.
Oh, wow. So maybe my obsession with Greek gods actually started earlier than I thought.
It's all different things for different reasons, or things that we're exposed to as children, that stick in our heads for a particular reason.
Yeah, and that shocked me because I hold my hands up, which you can most probably tell by the way I'm talking. So, and I'll hold my hands up to all you guys as well. I knew about the North thing, but I never actually done proper regional because I know with Troy, the women were very much, I don't mean this rudely, but they're what I picture in ancient Rome, the women in Troy. They're sort of like home, they were strong, but they weren't too strong to make their man look bad. Does that make sense?
Well, that's all. That was Greece. That was Greece. If you're reading stories about princesses, which for the most part in mythology we are, or in
Yeah,
tragedies we are. Okay, so if you're reading Antigone, for example, when I was teaching, when I was teaching literature back in the States, I had all these young girls going like, "Oh, this is a feminist play," and I would be like, "It's not. Don't put today's standards on things from antiquity because it does not compute." Antigone Antigone is going to be powerful and she's going to speak her mind because she was a princess.
yes.
Nobody else, no other woman, and it doesn't matter whether she was in Thebes or Greece, or I mean Thebes or Athens or Corinth or anywhere else. If you were just a plain ordinary person, not royalty, no way. Okay, no way. And Antigone is not about, you know, the power of a woman, or the lack, or a woman trying to exercise her power over the patriarchy. Antigone is the question of where do we go? Is it the rule of man or the rule of God?
Yes.
And are they the same, or what? That's and hubris, like all Greek tragedies are about. So women in ancient Greece, like the women in ancient Rome, it's the same thing. In ancient Greece, all of the tragedies that were written, what are you reading about? You're reading about the evil Medea, the evil Clytemnestra, the evil this one, the evil that one, because it's propaganda. It was written as propaganda to say to people, see, we have democracy now. And in democracy, women have no power. If you want to go back to tyranny, then you're going to have queens again, and women are going to have power. And this is what happened. They run around killing people.
Yes. See, I love this. Because for me personally, I sort of as I'm reading, I like to read sort of in as if I'm there. And this is one thing we were actually discussing. I was discussing with my last guest, which was Rachel Wolf Woman Rising. And we were chatting about stuff. And I said to her, I was really pleased to hear that she's actually in her new book that's coming out. She's actually talking about the little guy, because I hold my hands up. We don't hear about the little guy really in Greece at all. In ancient Greece, we don't really, other than the warriors, I think is the best way to word it. And now and again, you'll hear about the hearth, the family around the hearth and stuff like that. You don't really get to know their daily life. Is that the best way to word it?
So the one thing that I can say is that is I took a course at Harvard called Gods and Ritual in Ancient Greek Tragedy. So we examined, not only just the literature, but we also examined the way that people applied what they were reading or not reading, but they were going to see the tragedies, how they applied what they were seeing, how they applied their connection to the gods and the rituals that they conducted in X, Y, and Z. But the one thing that is interesting about ancient Greece is that, like every ancient culture, there was slave culture. But the slavery is not based on race or ethnicity. It's based on, like, you get made a slave if you lose in the war, right?
Yeah,
And so you're a slave or you're a peasant, which they call dusty feet, or you're a citizen or you're a noble, right? Now, the one thing that I can say that makes me proud is that it was never color, it was never race oriented.
no,
So you had, people from Africa, Northern Africa, that were mingling and, trading and working and living as freemen, as citizens. The slavery thing wasn't anything to do with race. It was to do with, like, who you fought against and who you won. So Greeks are slaves unto Greeks. The
yeah,
Messenians were slaves of the Spartans,
yeah.
right? So it's it's just, an equal equal basis for slavery all around. No
Just
racial,
don't lose the war.
yeah, yeah, no racial bias anywhere there.
I think that's one thing for me that I always personally sort of found quite. When we then go to, I don't mean this really, but then when we go to Romans, we do suddenly have this race war going on. And I think that's one thing why I feel really connected in some ways, because I am a mixed person. So, like when I did my DNA test, I've got it from South India. My DNA is from Greece. I've got DNA from Italy, Nepal, Sri Lanka. And I'm like, wow. There's no wonder that I'm feeling a pull towards the Greek gods, because in a way they never actually saw anything that way in the
Well, they
history.
also they also were, of all those places that you mentioned, there's a Hellenist footprint in all of those places, right?
Yeah.
And don't forget that the Roman gods are exactly the same as the Greek gods. They just have Latin names. And don't forget that the Greeks traded and went back and forth to the Indian continent, and that there's a lot of people up there that still have a purely um, verbal culture. Like, they don't read, but they still tell stories. They do storytelling and they tell stories of Alexander the Great, and they tell stories about the ancient Greek gods and goddesses that they've learned from soldiers and from Alexander the Great. I mean, to this day on the Indian continent. So, there's a big connection. There was a big exchange of culture between the two civilizations as well. So it would be seeped into your DNA.
Yeah, and I feel like that. Like my autistic daughter, my eldest daughter is severely autistic, and her first thing she learned and her first book she read, it was about Greek mythology, and that has come her obsession. And because it is her obsession, she's taught me so, so much. Like, even though I read the Iliad and stuff and I read the plays, she has taught me just so much. And, well, the only thing you can't say to her is Medusa wasn't a Gordon sister, because she will flip off. She will flip off. She's like, that Athena did not do that to a Medusa. Medusa was a Gordon sister. And I'm like, okay, calm. So bless her. I've just realised the time, lovely. So I do apologise. I was like watching time then.
We do have to go. We could go on forever, right?
I think we could. I think we could, lovely. I really do. Um, would you be able to do us a statement? Would you mind doing us a statement?
Um, let's see. Well, what I would like to say, I think, is that s- spirit, we all have our own vocabularies. I'm very, very much anti-proselytization. I feel like that's what the Abrahamists do, is particularly like the Christians and the Muslims. They want you to convert, and if you don't convert, it's because you're evil, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And my core belief is that we're all going to the same place. We're just, some of us are choosing the M5 or whatever it is, and some of us are choosing the byways, and some of us are going by boat, and our vocabulary is different. But if we're decent people and we have a core foundation of love and acceptance and openness and charity and altruism, then it doesn't matter what our vocabulary is, and it doesn't matter what road we take. You can have the energy. It was like I had a person came in today for a reading, and then they went to buy a book because they had been told in readings and by other people that there was somebody right over their shoulder watching out for them. And their vocabulary was guardian angel. And they said to me, but I'm really confused because I'm starting to feel really connected to like the whole pagan path and blah, blah, blah. And I said, what is calling you? And I threw out three different books. I put a book about archangels down. I put a book about the Greek pantheon down. I put a book about the Celtic path down. And I
Yeah.
said, what name resonates with you? What energy resonates with you?
Yeah.
And then they felt safer with the guardian angel book or the archangel book. And I said, you can take any of those archangels and you can parallel them to any Greek god or goddess. You can parallel them to any Norse god or goddess. The function, the look, the accoutrement, like the pointed cap for Hermes and things like this. This is also associated with an archangel. See,
Yeah.
so
Cupid.
it doesn't matter what or whom. It's the feeling and the honesty and the truth and the love that's behind it. And if you
Exactly.
just practice that and learn to pronounce the names right, no. If you just practice that, you're going to be okay.
Thank you so much. Honestly, Kat, it's been an absolute joy. So thank you
Oh,
so much.
yeah, thank you. It's been fun. And if you're ever in Liverpool, Merseyside, come visit me.
I
And
will.
most welcome in and come visit the shop.
Oh, hubby, I love that because he's a Liverpool fan. So he'll be like, yeah, we're going over just for that.
You too. It'd be great. All
Yeah.
right, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. Kat's links will be down in the description, guys. So do go and check them out. And again, thank you so much. And guys, don't forget, keep sparkling.